Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
You say that you wrestled with this decision for a long time. Was there ever a moment when you were actually thinking, I'm a no?
I was an undecided because I felt that we needed to interview some of the witnesses that Professor Ford said were present that night at which she believes the sexual assault occurred. And I was disturbed that they had not been interviewed by the FBI. Now, the committee staff had interviewed them and gotten very clear statements, so there was no corroboration. But I pushed along with Senators Jeff Flake and Lisa Murkowski for the FBI to do an interview of those individuals.
But as you were going through that week, and as you were learning information, and as you were hearing the allegations, was there ever a time when you thought, I can't vote for this guy?
Well, I was certainly undecided, and after hearing Christine Ford's very compelling and painful testimony, I thought, oh my goodness, he perhaps needs to withdraw. But then when he came back with such a forceful denial and the anger and anguish that he showed, and then the lack of corroboration,
Oh my God,
led me back to the fundamental issues that are fundamental to our legal system, a presumption of innocence.
Conservatism is a racket.
it is a racket. She's a Bush person, is what she is. And, Bush was in Kennebunkport this weekend, marrying off his daughter, Bob. So I wonder what she got. That's the question. What did Susan Collins get? I would say that we all need to check on the defense budget for Maine and see if a lot of that $719 billion that this president thinks we need to spend, not on people, but on hardware, goes to Maine. That would be the only explanation. It's so interesting because they asked her, will you ever know? And she wouldn't say that she was. All she said was she was undecided because she wanted to hear corroboration. But they didn't interview the 8 witnesses that Christine Blasey Ford provided. Obviously, Deborah Ramirez gave 20 witnesses, and the FBI said, nah, moving along here because the Senate told us to. And then she really added insult to injury. She said, well, I believed Dr. Ford. I just think she's crazy.
As you remember, Ford was really clear, under oath, under pain of perjury, that she was 100% certain that it was Brett Kavanaugh who sexually assaulted her. So given the decision you made, do you not believe her?
Let me say this. First of all, I found Dr. Ford's testimony to be heart-wrenching, painful, compelling, and I believe that she believes what she testified to.
I believe that
I
she
don't think she was coming forth with a political motive, although I do not think that she was treated well by those who breached her confidence. But we also had a case where Judge Kavanaugh came forward and said, I'm 100% certain that this did not happen. So here you have 2 people who are each 100% certain of what they're saying under pain of perjury. So then I had to look at the other evidence, and was there corroborating evidence? And that's why I pushed hard for the FBI to do a supplemental background investigation.
So do you still think it is possible that he did it? You just don't have the proof to back that up?
I do not believe that Brett Kavanaugh was her assailant.
So
I do believe that she was assaulted. I don't know by whom And I'm
She
not
does.
certain when, but I do not believe that he was the assailant.
And so people.
So basically what they had to do was go with the Ed Whelan Twitter thing. Remember the Ed Whelan Twitter thing? And I explained to you that Ed Whelan and this entire PR firm that was responsible for the swift boating of John Kerry and these evangelical groups who secretly met over the weekend. You know this. I don't know if you know this, but they had a little secret meeting in North Carolina. No press was allowed. They couldn't get anywhere near the thing. They could only go to a hotel and stand in the lobby. The Intercept went, and they weren't allowed to hear or see or do anything to cover the evangelical party. I mean, I don't know what else to call the celebration of putting a rapist on the Supreme Court. And, you know, the Ed Whelan guys of the world, these are the ones that use Zillow, remember, and floor plans, old floor plans of houses that he identified by, I don't know, just, going to Google Maps or some stupid thing and put it up on. And then he apologized and took it down. They're back to that now. So the whole thing is the Orrin Hatch, swift boat veterans, a conservative focus on the family, F the family, whatever they call themselves. It's we believe her, we just think she's crazy. We think that she thinks that something happened to her. She thinks it, but it didn't. And if it did, it wasn't him. So here's a guy who has lied under oath repeatedly. He lied under oath in 2004. He lied under oath in 2006. What did he lie about? He lied about working on the warrantless wiretapping scheme. He lied about working on the torture scheme. He lied about stolen emails that he received. He lied about shepherding through Judge Pryor, the racist Judge Pickering, Priscilla Owens, the womb police, right? He lied about all these things. But when he says forcefully that this is a plot by Hillary Clinton, that this is a plot by people that are pissed off at, well, then if he lies about, it wasn't me, we have to believe him, because he was so forceful is what it was. So she was asked about his behavior at the committee, this, partisan behavior of his. And again, Susan Collins is able to say, well, I just think he was very upset. Well, I think Christine Blasey Ford was so freaked out and so traumatized by A, having to tell this story, B, having to take a lie detector test, C, having somebody give her name to The Intercept, which I think was done by one of her friends trying to help her, D, having to be sworn in front of the United States Senate, E, being called crazy all weekend. But, Brett Kavanaugh was upset. He was upset.
After the hearing that we all watched last Thursday, it became clear to me, or was becoming clearer, that appearance of impropriety has become unavoidable.
Okay, so that was Senator Lisa Murkowski, the only Republican to vote no. And she said it was because of his temper. She said because the appearance of impropriety, the appearance of partisanship, the fact that he blamed this on some left-wing conspiracy, the fact that he blamed this on some people like Christine Blasey Ford. I mean, they can't have their cake and eat it too. They keep saying, we believe her, we just think she's crazy, or we believe her, but we think she was put up to it by George Soros, or whatever they're going to say, right? I mean, this is just crazy. So Lisa Murkowski said, you know what, listening to him, the appearance of impropriety, the appearance of partisanship, you know what, we can do better. America is owed a better Supreme Court nominee. There are only 9 jobs in the world like this one, and we can certainly find somebody other than him. And we really ought to keep looking until we do. Because here you had a real serious case of partisanship, and it will break the court. And that is what she said. Susan Collins said he was just upset.
She was giving voice to the fact that Kavanaugh was outwardly partisan, talking about the Clintons in his testimony. really went after one of your colleagues, Amy Klobuchar, which he apologized for later. But do you have any concerns at all about Brett Kavanaugh's temperament?
Well, I put myself in his shoes. He is coming forth and answering an allegation that includes that he was involved in gang raping and doping girls. I mean, that is so devastating. And I think he reacted with anger and anguish as a father of two young girls, a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Was he auditioning for, the Girl Scouts? Was he trying to be a troop leader, or was he auditioning for a job on the Supreme Court? Because last I checked, he's a judge. He's a judge. He has the wooden mallet. So, the whole, this was totally in the bag. I mean, she had her mind made up at the very beginning. She's a Bush person. You know that. The fact that the Bushes, hang out in Kennebunkport, the fact that she's, and over the weekend, I got to tell you, there was millions of dollars raised for anyone who will run against Susan Collins. Susan Rice's name was put up there. Susan Rice was trashed. I don't even want to play. But Susan Collins trashed Susan Rice, saying, well, I don't really think she lives in Maine. Well, Susan Collins doesn't really live in Maine either. Susan Collins lives in Washington, D.C. and has since like the freaking 70s. So obviously Susan Collins has become a Trumper. She has become a dyed-in-the-wool Bush/Trump Republican. She is not a moderate. There are no more moderates, okay? That's just the fact. That's just where we are. And if these uber hard-right Catholic, like super elite, have gotten you down and have made you sad and have made you frustrated and have made you sick, let me just remind you, we are less than 1 month away from Election Day. And I want to give you some news that you really can use. This is really important because tomorrow is the close of voter registration in many, many states. So it's either today, tomorrow, or in some states, not at all. Other states, they extend it for online. But states like Mississippi, you can't register online. Go figure. Yeah, go figure. You get Mississippi, you don't get to register online, which takes like all of 2 seconds if you go to Rock the Vote. All of 2 seconds, but they don't let you. All right, so here are the states where in-person voter registration ends tomorrow, okay? Arizona, the deadline for all kinds of registration, in-person registration, online registration, by mail, Arizona, tomorrow, October 9th. Then that's it. You don't get to vote. You can't change your mind no matter what the hell happens. You won't be able to vote in this midterm. I think that's very important to know. Arkansas, deadline to register in person or by mail is October 9th. Arkansas has no online voter registration. Florida, deadline to register in person, by mail, and online is tomorrow, October 9th. Georgia, deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow, October 9th. Hawaii, the deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow. Now, if you're in Hawaii and you missed the deadline, you can still register to vote and cast a ballot during early voting or on Election Day. That's very civilized, I have to say. Illinois, deadline to register in person is tomorrow, October 9th. You can register online until October 21st. After that, you can register and vote at a local election office during some sort of a grace period in Illinois. Indiana, the deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow, October 9th. Kentucky, deadline to register in person, online, or by mail is tomorrow, October 9th. Louisiana, deadline to register in person or by mail is tomorrow. Online registration in Louisiana is available till October 16th. Michigan, deadline to register in person or by mail, October 9th. Online voter registration is not available in the great state of Michigan. Mississippi, you missed it. The deadline to register in person was yesterday, or today, October 8th. If you are registering by mail, you have until tomorrow. There is no online voting registration in Mississippi. Great. Montana, your deadline passed. It was yesterday. Wasn't it yesterday a Sunday? Wasn't yesterday a Sunday? What, today is what, the 8th? Yeah, your deadline was yesterday? A Sunday, Elliot? A Sunday? Yeah. Montana, the deadline to register in person was yesterday. If you want to register by mail, it must be received. The form must be received by October 10th. It's not going to happen. So after that, you have late registration available through Election Day at your county election office. You cannot register online in Montana. Why? Nevada, the deadline to register by mail is tomorrow, and October 16th in person. You can register online as long as you do it by October 18th. New Hampshire, you can vote on Election Day even if you haven't registered. Isn't that nice? You can register on Election Day. You want to register by mail? You have to make sure your form's received by October 27th. However, in New Hampshire, you cannot register online. I bet this is news to a lot of people. New Mexico, the deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow. Ohio, the deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow. Pennsylvania, the deadline to register in person, online, or by mail is tomorrow. Tennessee, the deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow. Texas, the deadline to register in person or by mail is tomorrow. Utah, the deadline to register by mail is tomorrow. The deadline to register in person or online is October 30th. Vermont, you can register online or in person through Election Day. Isn't that nice? That's how it should be everywhere, right? Washington State, the deadline to register online or by mail is today. You can register in person by October 29th. So there you have it. Can you believe there are states where you can't register to vote online? It takes literally 2 seconds to register online. I mean 2 seconds. You go to Rock the Vote. You put your name, you put your address in there, and you click, and you're registered. Then you can go and check it. Make sure you're on the rolls. I mean, this is so bizarre. But you know, this is Republicans' doings. This is what they want. Remember, the Republicans who voted for Kavanaugh represent less than 44% of this country. Oh, yeah. That's how this works. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.